New week on Wall Street. Let's get to it, see how things are doing. Time for the Money Master, the director of financial newsletters at Newsmax.com. Jeff Yastine joins us on the telephone today. Jeff, welcome into a whole brand new week here. 17,000. We're over it. That happened last weekend. Maybe taking a couple extra bucks profit today, right?
Yeah, we're looking at a really decent day on Wall Street. The Dow is flat, break-even levels. S&P's up about 3 points. NASDAQ's up about 13 points. Overall, holding steady. We had some really good economic data this morning on factory production hitting its highest level in 10 years, and new orders into factories also came in very strong. So, you might expect some selling after last week's gains, but I think these new bits of data that are coming out are keeping people into the market, and with the midterms coming up tomorrow, we'll see what happens then, and that I think will play the next step for where the market goes in the days afterwards. All
right, let's talk a couple of minutes about what's happening here in the news. Virgin America, now it's got that Virgin America in it. It is partially owned by Richard Branson. It is a low-cost airline. They're now revealing their estimated terms of their IPO. First of all, before I get to the question about the connection with the Galactic spaceship here, tell us a little bit about the IPO.
Yeah, the IPO, they're looking to raise around $300 million at the pricing that Wall Street thinks they're going to get for the shares. It would give Virgin Atlantic a market value of around $1 billion. They run certain limited routes around the United States, and there is a fan base, customer base for that airline. But of course, the key is, like any other airline, what are the fuel prices? And right now, they're very beneficial in terms of the pricing trends. Fuel's getting cheaper for the airlines and have been for the last number of quarters, so they can't help but have profits that look better. And then customer service is another key, and what you get on the planes. And Virgin Atlantic has a pretty distinct offering to make there, and so they've as they've gone on, they've developed a pretty enthusiastic fan base for the people who fly that airline.
Now, Richard Branson, as I noted, is a part owner of all this under the Virgin brand here. Virgin Galactic, the tragic accident they had this past week, one pilot dead, another severely injured. Because it is Virgin, because Branson is connected in any way, is there any reason to think that that might have an effect on the IPO just because the names are the same?
Yeah, it's something you might think might be the case. If it is, it might only be in the background. I don't really see it being a real impact. It certainly has been mentioned on the Wall Street write-ups, and it's really just one of those tangential things. I think people know enough to sort of separate the experimental aspects of what Virgin Galactic represents versus what Virgin Atlantic is.
All right, let's go ahead and turn now to gold. Big dive on Friday. What happened? For those of us who always thought that gold was unbeatable, invincible.
Yeah, that's true. And as we've talked about before, gold has been in this reversal now since late 2011. The price now is at around $1,160, $1,170, $1,170 an ounce versus $1,800, $1,900 an ounce that we saw 3 years ago. And a lot of this, the reason to own gold just isn't as prevalent. It isn't there anymore in the near term because we haven't seen some sort of economic collapse. And the dollar, rather than getting weaker, as many people thought, has instead been getting stronger and stronger, and it's been supported by this decline in oil prices. Oil is denominated in dollars. As oil prices drop, then the dollar gets more and more value behind it. And so the reason to own gold just hasn't been there. However, if we're looking at a new phase in the economy here, as the U.S. economy is hitting new levels, perhaps we see Europe and Asia starting to move higher. Perhaps we're going to hit another inflationary trend, and that would certainly put a new bid underneath the price of gold. The other thing, gold is very volatile anyway. Back in the 70s, the price of gold fell, in the mid-70s, fell by 50% through around 1976, 1977, and then turned around and more than tripled in value between 1977 and 1981. So volatility is the name of the game in gold anyway.
Always is when it comes to Wall Street anyway. There you go, all out of time. Jeff Yastine, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on Tuesday. And a reminder to everybody, if you want to find out what's happening on Wall Street, go to Newsmax.com, click on the Money tab, and there's Money News. That'll tell you everything that's happening. Also, be sure to see Jeff's latest report on a covert plan to unleash financial havoc by visiting FIRCcollapse.com. All right, after the break, we reveal the cover story in the latest edition of Newsmax magazine. We won't lie, but the individual on the cover just might. It's coming up right here on MidPoint.